Hey guys, so I'm sitting here in the break room, got to teach a class in about, let's see here, about 45 minutes. So I want to tell a little story. In the news, at least on YouTube, there's a lot of, I guess, kind of left-leaning YouTubers, even mainstream news. They're talking about the expectation of the effects of the tariffs and the immigration policy, what the effects of the mass deportation and the tariffs are going to have on the economy. They're talking about it now after the election. I mean, largely because I think they felt obligated to try to play at both sides, despite what the Republicans saying how left-wing the media is. Anyway, it made me think of a story. And I made the connection here. Let me make the connection here. So this is a story about when I was in the Air Force. So I went to the Air Force as a second lieutenant, in for 2 years, then you put on first lieutenant. You just, you're at the bottom of the rung, and finally you're slightly above the very bottom of the rung. And at my base, there was this cafeteria where the enlisted airmen would eat. And the thing about this place, the food was pretty good, and it was dirt cheap, but it was for enlisted guys. So we went there, even though technically there was no regulation saying we couldn't eat there. But for the most part, officers didn't really go there. But honestly, the food was better there than the enlisted, or better there than at the officers club. And it was definitely cheaper. So this cafeteria is near one of the enlisted barracks. You go around there, you're surrounded by mostly enlisted airmen. So we had an agreement. We being the people at ease, me and two other lieutenants would often go there. So we just we organically figured out, like when you go there, look, we're kind of in the enlisted territory. We don't, this is their cafeteria, their barracks, the whole, we basically had this agreement. We wouldn't look at them and they wouldn't look at us. We would pretend like when we were outside, we would pretend not to see them. They would pretend not to see us. And the reason why is because, well, when you make eye contact and you're so far away, you got to salute. And look, we're on lunch break. These people, they're near their home, right? So they don't want a bunch of, first lieutenant showing up and just being a pain in the ass, especially when they know that there's a fair chance that they've actually been in the Air Force longer than we have, right? So, it was just an agreement thing, not a breakdown and command structure or anything but it's just kind of an agreement. So anyway, this second lieutenant shows up fresh out of ROTC, and he's going to get lunch. We're going to take him there to get lunch for the first time. So we're going there. It's me, this, fresh butter bar, and this other first lieutenant. And we're walking, and we hear him say, "Hey, airman, can't you see three officers walking?" And me and the other first lieutenant stop, and we're like, "Come on, man." Look, we're thinking, well, we don't say it, but it's what we're thinking, because, he's another officer. We don't want to whatever, right? So we stop. We all three stop. The airman, she's a woman. She gives us salute. We return a salute, drops whatever, right? And afterwards, we say, "Dude, don't do that." And he's like, "Well, regulation, blah." I said, No. That what you learned at ROTC, that's great, but that's not how it works in the real world, right? This thing here, don't do that here, right? Well, anyway, a week later, an email went out saying officers cannot eat at the enlisted club unless they're accompanied by an NCO, right? Now, what the second lieutenant did, was that wrong? Technically, it wasn't. That's in the UCMJ. That's the regulation. But by following that regulation to the letter, that benefit we were getting, we lost it. This is a weird thing to say, guys, but basically that's kind of the way immigration law works in our country. It's just the truth. And when they deport anywhere between 11 and maybe even upwards to 15 million people, Of these people, well over 75%, the numbers well over 75% are doing low skilled, if not low skilled, but kind of, well, construction isn't a low skilled job necessarily. There are actually there can be a lot of skill with construction, but these construction jobs and agriculture jobs and food processing jobs, when upwards of 15 million people are removed, even though they may be here without documents, maybe they have overstayed visas, if they've snuck across the border, we're going to see why sometimes it's kind of better to not always follow things to the letter. It's an odd thing to say, and people say, well, the law is the law. When it comes to rape, murder, absolutely. Sometimes it's just a little bit of a gray area, like giving that salute outside the enlisted club.